Welcome to this primal movement workout for today. Appreciate you joining in. We're going to start hands and knees. We're going to warm up the body first, starting with the wrists. This is lifting the heel of the palm up by pressing into the pads of the fingers. This is going to help strengthen your wrists. Really important because we're going to be doing a lot of weight bearing today on the hands. You can shift your weight back if it's too much for you. Now we turn the fingers out to the side, shift the weight left to right. See if you can initiate the movement by pressing into the base of the finger pads. So the right hand pushes to move to the left and vice versa. You'll get the hang of it. Again, strengthening the forearms and also stretching at the same time. Now turning the back of the hands down onto the floor, giving a stretch for the other side of your forearm and just gently moving here. And now finally, let's extend the fingers and make a fist really quickly, open and close. This will pump up the forearms here. Well done. Now you're going to find yourself in a squat position, and we're going to hang out here for a little bit, opening up the hips, arms on the inside of the knees. If you need to hold on to a railing here for support, modify as needed. It's okay if your heels come up off the floor. And now just shifting the weight side to side, you can place your hands on the ground, opening up the hips, checking in with the body. Remember to listen to your body here. We're going to rotate now, reaching one arm up to the sky, alternating, creating the rotation from the thoracic spine, and using the opposite arm as leverage on the inside of the thigh. Inhale as you open, exhale as you lower. All right, now we're going to transition to a tabletop position from the squat and then walk our hands forward into a floating tabletop. So we're going to transition between these two here. This is going to really engage the core and warm up the shoulders, especially as we prepare for our movement. So just walking back into a squat, pausing, and then bringing your hands behind you to get into a floating tabletop. If this is too much for you, you can do a bridge on your shoulders, just a simple glute bridge. This is going to really strengthen the back body here. And then as we shift to the floating tabletop, it's going to really strengthen the front of our core. Breathe into it. You're doing great. You should probably be feeling this by now. Primal movements have been so helpful in my life. It helps to really strengthen the body, improve control and flexibility. And by getting our hands on the ground here, we're also improving our motor control and coordinating through the spine. It does a lot of wonders. Keep it going here. See if you can really lift the hips up to the sky. Maybe setting an intention for your practice today. What would you like to get out of this? And remember, if anything feels painful too much, I really encourage you to slow down. I encourage you to modify here, especially if you're not used to doing any of these movements. And then just a simple cat-cow here to integrate, finishing the warm-up. All right. We're ready to rock and roll here. So from a tabletop position, we are going to lift our hips up into an A-frame or a downward dog, but more of a narrow stance, and just start to pedal out the feet, really checking in with your body. See if your head can hang, maybe turning it side to side. And really bend into the knees and shoot the hips up into the sky as much as possible. So that's going to really, really important. And as we begin to walk here, we lift up onto the toes, step 1 foot forward, opposite hand. So it's going to be left arm, right foot, and then right hand, left foot stepping forward. Might take some time to get the hang of it. You can watch me here. So we initiate the movement from the feet, lifting off the heels, and then we step one hand and opposite foot. Gaze is actually between the legs, so you're looking behind you. And you can look up every now and then to see where you're going. Keeping your hips up high. Yeah, you got this. You're doing great. Slow and steady is the key right here. We're about finding the right quality of movement. Nicely done. Just taking a break there, can rest on your heels for a moment. Maybe circle out the wrists just to give them a little stretch and rest here, whatever you need to do. And what we're going to do is now get back into that same position, and we're going to work our way backwards. So finding that A-frame position, backwards bear walk. The difference here is we're going to initiate the movement by pressing into the floor. So as the left hand presses into the floor, the right hand and left foot step back. Again, opposite arm and leg moving. And what we're going to do here is imagine you are pressing the floor away, initiating the press from the shoulder blade. Might be a little bit odd at first, but this is a great movement and strengthening exercise for the shoulders and the shoulder blade control. Really imagine that shoulder blade lifting up, up, up as you press away. Nicely done. You can take a rest here in the squat position or whatever feels right for you. Taking a breather. Maybe circling out the wrists again. You can interlace the fingers and just do some simple circles. And now we'll transition into a frog walk. So this one begins and ends from the squat. We reach forward into our floating tabletop, pressing the floor away, and then gently step left foot, right foot, one at a time, and sink back into your squat. Nice and easy. So shift the weight forward, maybe a couple feet in front of you. You plant, load, step, and step back into your squat. You'll get the hang of this. Shifting the weight forward, feeling the core really engage here as you press away. We are creating a bit of a round through the back. And then really sit back into your squat again. Nicely done. So the frog walk is the first step or the first base progression. So if you found that really challenging, I would stick with that movement. You can stand up, take a break here, maybe give your hips a break, shake it out for a little bit, take a few breathers before we get into the frog float, if you're ready for this next step progression. Again, starting from that floating tabletop position, pushing the floor away, and then we float both feet forward. Instead of jumping, imagine more that you're pulling from the core, okay, as opposed to initiating from the feet. You're using the hands and the core, feeling the hands, core, and lower body then connect all together. This one is a great one for total body conditioning, strength of the shoulders, strength of the core, and opening up the hips. Even just doing 45 seconds of this one, you'll really feel it. And resting now with some windshield wipers, just moving the legs side to side, giving yourself a break. If you need to pause this, go ahead and do it, because now we're getting into the crab walk. You might just need to hang out in a shoulder bridge if it's too much for you, but we're going to be putting all the weight into one hand and opposite foot. Same concept here, okay? And you can play around with the height of the hips. So maybe the hips are hanging low, maybe you're lifting the hips all the way up, so it's more of a tabletop, a little bit more of a challenge there. Figure out what works for you. My fingers are pointing out to the side, nice and strong through the arms. And every now and then you can really press through the floor to lift those hips up, feeling that connection between opposite shoulder and glute. And now we'll just do a little reach, shifting over to the left arm and then reaching the right arm up and over, lifting the hips up, getting a nice back bend if that's available to you, and then shifting the weight to the right side, reaching over and maybe back. Nicely done. And we'll take a break here, a little core, sitting in a V-sit or a boat pose. See if you can straighten the back as best as you can. Let's just get a little extra core in there. Nice and strong here. You can do this. You can definitely do this. I have faith in you. And now getting into the crab walk, going backwards. I find this one actually a little bit easier because we're initiating more of that movement from the feet. And feel free to explore, play around with it. Really tap into that primal element. You can make it playful if you want. Here, I'm just going forwards and backwards. If you want, you can explore different directions. All right, now we prep for our monkey float. Same concept, except we plant our hands at a 45-degree angle, and now we shift our weight sideways, 1 foot at a time. So you're going to plant your hands in front and to the side, shoulders over the wrists, load, and shift the weight. Again, the core is creating the movement. The feet are just kind of coming along for the ride. And as you load onto the wrists, see if you can straighten the arms. That's probably the hardest part with this one. You want to load all that weight, shoulders over the wrists, and then side to side. And then this variation I'm showing, you can practice more with the hips up high and the legs straighter. So getting a little bit more weight into the shoulders. The feet, again, are just kind of dangling. Okay, and then look a little bit more like one of those monkeys there. You can even make some sounds if you want, whatever works for you. And then just resting again in the squat, circling the wrists. You're doing great. If you need to take a little bit more of a breather, feel free to do so here. You might be really feeling this one. Now, this is actually one of my favorites. This is the duck walk. It is so good for the ankles, the feet, and the knees. And as you can tell here, the knees are getting pretty far forward over the toes. So go super slow, getting a nice stretch to the feet. And if you need to put your hands down onto the floor while you do this, I highly recommend it. With the duck walk, you can explore twisting, turning, going forwards, backwards, whatever really works for you here. Just moving mindfully as you work out the kinks. Nicely done. All right, time for the bear crawl. From that floating tabletop position, we're going to do the same deal here, but just keeping that horizontal line with the spine. And you step forward one hand, opposite foot. The knees are floating above the floor. You can kind of play here with a little bit of an arch through the back. It makes it a little bit more difficult. And with the bear crawl, you can go forwards, backwards as I'm doing, or just explore going in different directions. You can go sideways, you can crawl over the room. So just explore the space around you. Again, have fun with it. It's more about movement control than it is about speed, as you're noticing. I'd rather have you go slow and smooth rather than fast, because this is about controlling the body. And then find your way into a squat to rest. All right, this is our final exercise. We're going to do a little bit of twisting and turning, transitioning from a tabletop to a crab back, kind of like a break dance move. Have some fun. So we're rotating to the left. You lift the left hand up, kick the leg through, and then as you keep rotating, the inside leg swoops back. Okay, so you'll get the hang of it. Right hand steps forward, left leg sweeps through. Now we go the opposite direction, reaching left hand, turning to the right leg kicks under, right? So it's just going to be opposite arm, leg, one sweeping over, one sweeping under. And if you don't know how to do this, you could just make it up, do some twists and turns, play around with it. Nicely done. All right, we're going to just take a little break, a little bit moment to wind down in a child's position. Allowing yourself to sink down, be heavy, allow the earth to support you. Thanking your body today for all that has done for you. Thanking yourself for showing up and following along. Thanks for being open-minded, and have a great day.